Shabbat Shalom. There is a moment in the Parsha that we just read that always strikes me as being kind of a funny, disingenuous sort of moment when Joseph is giving his solution to Pharaoh, right? Joseph interprets the dreams, says, there's going to be 7 years of famine, there are plenty, then 7 years of famine, and just in case you were wondering, right, what do you need? Well, it's like you need an ish chacham v'navon, some wise and understanding person who can run things for you. And there's two sort of ways that the commentaries read this. One is Joseph sort of saying, what you need is an ish chacham v'navon. I don't know who that could be, some wise person who could, right? And he's kind of getting himself into this job. Or the other is that he thinks that he has absolutely no shot at it. He just says, I'm telling you that the only way to solve this is through, wise bureaucracy. And so you're going to need someone, and that he's as shocked as the rest of us when Pharaoh turns around and says, great, the guy we just pulled out of the dungeons, it's you, right? You're the one. And this becomes something that the commentaries get a little bit stuck on, of what does it mean that you could have someone who is discerning, and what does the two different words for wise mean? So one reading of it is that it means you need someone who understands issues and someone who understands how to lead people. Right? Go back to our talk of Solomon just a few minutes ago, right? That his wisdom was not just that he knew the right answer. His wisdom was he knew how to bring other people into that realization as well. And so perhaps that's what we need, or what they need in this moment, is someone who both knows how to distribute grain, but also someone who knows how to bring everyone else along with him in this moment. But the commentaries also point out that what Joseph says is not only to appoint one ish hacham uvanavon, one wise person, but also a group of pikidim, a group of counselors, a group of ministers, a group of tax collectors. It's sort of unclear what that word is, but this other sort of set of people that are going to help run everything. And what our commentaries note is that the Torah, while it tells us that Pharaoh appoints Joseph to be this one ruler, second in command person, we never see anywhere them appointing all of these other officers and officials who faithfully execute justice in our community. That was from the old, Prayer for Our Country, not the current one. And so the commentaries look and say, well, why didn't they get put in? Well, one is that maybe it's because they were supposed to be tax collectors. I'm not making this up, and no one likes tax collectors, so the Torah didn't tell us about them. Another is, Or HaChaim says, no, it's that there were different people appointed to watch over different groups within the country, and we only needed to hear about Yosef because he was the one who was watching over Pharaoh and the court and all of the higher ups, and so that's the one that we learned about. But the system is one that we see go throughout not only our religious expression and our people, but throughout, right? Because as soon as we're done with Joseph, who do we get? Moses, right? And as soon as we're done with Moses, the people are clamoring for a king, so we need David. And then we get Solomon. And we want to have one person, an ish chacham unavon, that we trust to just lead us. Right? That's what the people seem to be asking for throughout this. They want just one person, please just tell us what to do. And by the way, the ancient Spartans had someone too, like Kyrgyz was their lawgiver who they wanted, and the romantics in literature created this idea of having a sort of, one heroic person who's going to rush in and save the day and do whatever. This goes straight all the way down to Marvel. Right? Comic books, that we have a hero with the power and the will and the knowledge to just do what we need, and the rest of us can just, enjoy the show and be told, okay, it's time to go do this now and do that now, and you're all fine. By the way, What's the next iteration in this desire for one heroic being that can just tell us what to do? AI. I thought I heard it right. Artificial intelligence. It's just the next thing that we're looking for, something other than us that can tell us what to do and how to do it and just save us all from ourselves without any work being done on our part. And you can see where this model, as we see throughout the Torah, continues to break down. Right? The people rebel against Moses. Yosef does all right, but there's kind of a dicey situation where he could, kill all of his brothers, and it was only because he's compassionate that we don't get that happening. But there's some concern with having all of the power concentrated. We get to David, who seems to be doing okay, but with a few issues here and there, and Solomon all the more so. Right? The Torah is suspect of a king, and this idea that we should have one person who is in charge. And it's not just because of a sort of power consolidation, right? To paraphrase Max Weber, right? If you get power based on just having certain abilities or talents, says Weber, there's no incentive to share your abilities and talents because that's what gives you your power, right? That's why he thinks we need democracy, because you get power by all of us and therefore you are going to share it. We can talk about that at Kiddush, okay? No, what the Torah asks of us, clearly the Torah's answer is to decentralize not only power, but decision-making. Right? All ethical decision-makings are not meant to be made by a king or one person, no matter how wise or understanding they are, but by all of us. That's why we get the Torah. That's why we don't have a priestly class that rules over us and has knowledge that the rest of us don't have. All you get are rabbis. And all we are people who, have read the book a couple of times and are here to help you through it. But we have no extra power or special anything other than Rabbi Cooper, who has a lot of extra power and special everything. But now you're stuck over here. And so the point of the Torah is that we are meant to read, to find our own way, to come up with our own wisdom, to become the Ish Chacham Unavon, the wise and understanding person, both in knowing what is right, but also in trying to work on bringing everyone else along with us. That's our role. And there's a beautiful story which is told about Jews, but I think it's a Hasidic story, but I've only been able to find it in Christian sources. So Adam, afterwards, let's talk and you can tell me where this is. But there's a story of monks who are in a monastery that's having trouble. It's doing well. It's not doing well. It's losing members. It's losing, whatever members, whatever monks, whatever it means that it's spiritually on the down. And they hear of a rabbinic miracle worker in the forest outside of the monastery. And so they send a monk and they say, go to him and find out what we can do to make our monastery better. So they find this traveling rabbi and they say, you got to help us. The monastery is dying, its spirit is low. What can we do? And the rabbi, we're told, turns to the monk and says, well, how can I help you when I actually happen to know that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is one of the people in your monastery? Like, that's what's going to help you, not me. And so the monk goes back to the monastery and he says, okay, you know what he said? One of us is the Messiah. And at first they think, like Joseph probably thought when he was told he was going to run all of Egypt, like, what are you talking about? None of us are the Messiah. That can't be. And then they thought for a minute and they're like, well, Jeff's really smart. It could be him. And Neil's very pious. It could be him. It might be, and Aaron read a great Haftorah. I bet she's definitely the Messiah, could be the Messiah. And they started to look around at everyone in the monastery and think, well, you know what? This person actually might have it in them to be the Messiah. And you know what happened? The monastery started to do well. It became known as a place of warmth and kindness, of spirituality, of religiosity, and it did better and better and better, not because one person saved it, but because they all believed that any one of them could be the person who could save the monastery. And so too, for us here, thank God we don't need the saving, but we all kind of do. And we live in a world that is clamoring for something to come help us. We see in the news, we can feel that there are issues outside of the walls of this building. There are issues that we as humanity face. There are issues that we as the Jewish people face. And we want there to be someone who could just come in and make it better and say, here you go, climate change, plug this in, live your life, it's solved, right? Here you go, the Middle East and its peace problems solved. Just do this one thing, I have a plan. Of course we want that. And by the way, if anyone here is sitting on a plan, share. But we can't just wait for someone else to come and solve all of the problems for us. Yosef, Moshe, David, Solomon, these guys were great. They were wonderful, but even they couldn't do it. So it's not about hoping that a Savior is out there to come and get us. It's about thinking that any one of us here could be that Savior in some way. Any one of us here has the ability to bring light into the world. That's the holiday that we just celebrated, friends. Any one of us here has the ability to light even a little bit of light that will illuminate the darkness. And so not only do we need to think about how we can bring out our own light, but also recognize it in others and see other people as someone who might be able to save us. See other people who might have that idea that might be the thing that gets all of this going. Because when we look around, it's not that we need an Ish Chacham and Avon who's out there, but we need to bring out the Chacham and the Nivunah, the wisdom and the understanding in each and every one of us that we all surely possess. Shabbat Shalom.